All right, and we're back with another episode of B-Scar TV, and we have a very, very special guest today, my dog, Steven Anderson, a.k.a. Steven!
Yeah.
What's up, man?
What's up, man? Good. Excited to be on the show. Definitely, I've seen the origins of B-Scar TV, and happy to see how much it's grown over the years and the interviews you get and everything. So definitely honored to be on the show.
You've been there since the beginning.
Yes.
You definitely, since the beginning.
Yes.
Before anyone else was watching, Steve was there. Steve and I were roommates back in college at Cal. My first roommate ever, man.
Yeah.
Other than my parents and my little brother. You were my first roommate ever.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Back to what was you, 17? Right before you turned 18?
Yeah, 17, young gun. I remember
yeah.
I remember when we first got to the Beverly Cleary dorms and walked in the dorm room and seen my guy Steve with his whole family in there getting all set up.
I remember barefaced B, no facial hair yet, you know what I'm saying? Just like looking like he hasn't grown into his face and everything, looking just young and just large, just a large human being just walked in the room. And I was like, I was wondering who was gonna be. I was wondering if I'm glad I got there first so I could choose the bed. Definitely hit it off from different areas, Oregon and Northern California, and it's been great ever since.
It was interesting our paths and going to Cal. First off, you being from the Bay, me being up from Portland. And then for those who don't know, Cal is in Berkeley, California, which is right there in the Bay Area across the bridge from San Francisco. And so you went right up the street.
Yeah.
And also where your pops went to school at. So it was you had gold and blue running through your veins from a young age.
Absolutely. Yeah. Without Berkeley, there wouldn't be me. So that's where the parents met. That's where my sister was going once I got to Cal, and that's where my aunt also went at, and also my grandma's sister, so my aunt. So yeah, Golden Bear family, bleed blue and gold. So definitely glad. I mean, I felt like it was meant to be that I ended up at that school. Glad I went there. Glad I graduated, and I was made some lifelong friends, including this one right here. So
yeah,
great.
Yeah, no doubt. And you, I feel like a big piece of your story is going into Cal as a walk-on, and obviously grew as a player, developed as a player on the team, and over time was probably the best offensive threat or one of the best offensive threats on the team by the end of your time. But what's funny about you, man, is you never lost that chip on your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
You still got that thing big as hell. Yeah. Right as I look at you on this Zoom screen, man.
Yeah. It's the chip is the only way that I got to the league. That's the only way I got to the league, and everybody wants to be that guy. Everybody wants to be that 5-star, come in with a whole bunch of accolades, whole bunch of hype. And they just want to come in and have that movie type situation, but that doesn't happen for everybody. That actually happens for a small percentage of people. And the larger portion, the majority, is people who really have to earn that. And I think that when I made that decision to say, like, hey, it doesn't matter how they came in, they still got to play football. They still got to lace the cleats up. They still got to know their plays and take care of their bodies and everything. And once I stopped worrying about the other stuff, who people prefer, who people are excited about, then that's when I really started making jumps.
Mm-hmm. How long would you say it took for you to get to that point where it was like, forget the politics,
Mm.
whatever they think, it doesn't matter. It's all about how I prove myself day in and day out.
It's a roller coaster. It's a roller coaster. I still deal with that even to this day. I could be in the same situation, a similar situation, and I would say most, if not all, of my NFL career to that point has been the same feelings as what I've been as a walk-on, being overlooked, underappreciated, not feeling like people are taking me seriously as a player. So honestly, I still get frustrated to this day. I think it's very human to get frustrated at what you feel like you should be or not should be experiencing or going through, especially since you've experienced those things before. But at the end of the day, I believe it started when it first started. Well, I remember this. So my freshman year, those Eric Thomas "How Bad You Want It" videos. Remember those?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah. You want it as bad as you want to breathe?
oh man, when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then that's when we'll be successful, man. I might be word for that whole video.
I think you showed me that, bro.
Yeah,
Freshman
yeah.
year, I think you showed me that.
I saw it on World Star too, so that's how I saw that video, and that's the times that we were in. You just it came on World Star and everything. You just you just that was like the shade room before the shade room was like even up and everything. You just gonna
That's a
get
fact.
and everything, and it just happened to throw like a golden nugget, in my opinion. And so they had that. So really, basically, every single morning, that video changed me. I feel like that first video changed me, and they ended up making a second video, which was just as good. But I remember the feeling of like I wanted bad. I knew I wanted it bad. I knew even back in high school, there were some guys that were getting scholarship offers that I was lining up on the same field against. And even in my area, there wasn't a whole bunch of guys that were getting scholarship offers, but the guys that were, I felt like I was just as good as, if not better than. So it became a frustration, and it became a hunger. Um, I think that the important part is I was able to use that energy and use the kind of frustrations of being overlooked, and I was able to turn that, which was crucial because some people get that and feel bad about themselves and feel bad about the situations, but I didn't. I did feel bad about my situation, but it didn't last long. It turned into like, okay, I got to work. If I could do something, like if I could do something to help my situation, if I could do something to make myself just a little bit better, then I will. And in watching that video, I got up every day when I was redshirting my freshman year, and I did a workout even before practice because we had those morning practices. So I think I was doing like 15 miles on the bike every morning before practice, and just kind of getting the sweat because I knew I wasn't going to get those reps. I knew that it wasn't, there weren't making a game plan for me, especially, being a freshman and being just new to college and everything like that. So that's when it started like clicking. And then it redefined itself multiple times. And I would say that just because you make a decision one day doesn't mean the next day is going to be the same energy. Like you got to wake up and continue to make that decision. And if you do it consistently enough, the decisions get easier. You're gonna wake up and just like, I'm gonna work. That'll be like your first thought. But every day is a decision. It doesn't just happen. Like you gotta make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and those decisions, like you're saying, some days can be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Some days it's easy. You wake up with that energy and you're just ready to ride. But
Mm-hmm.
then it's the other days where it's like, a little tired or not willing to, not feeling like it. It's those days of just not feeling like it. But I think with what's been consistent, I think, in your story, since I've known you at least, is there's always been this innate sense of confidence and
Mhm.
belief in yourself that I've always gotten from you. Like, I think that the perception of being an underdog or being like underappreciated or undervalued, I think it comes along with knowing that you have a certain talent. I mean, you have something to offer, right? Like, the underdog don't ever look at himself and think he's dog shit. You know what I mean? The underdog looks at himself like, yo, I should be on top, but for these reasons, right now I'm not, but I'm going to get there. You know
Right.
what I mean? And it's like that mindset, I think I think from my perception, just kind of watching your career, and for those who don't know, Steve is with the Cardinals currently, tight end with the Cardinals, by way of Houston, New England, Chargers,
Uh,
and now in AZ. So you made a journey around the league, but shit, man, you still doing it.
yeah, it's a journey. That's the perfect word for it. It's a journey, and there's always good times and there's bad times, and even in the bad times, I know that good times are coming, and in the good times, I know that hey, like stay humble because everything's not going to be peachy all the time. So, yeah, I mean, just in terms of what you were saying about the confidence, confidence came in repetition. Um, what I mean by that is like, why would I be afraid to run a slant route when I've ran it 1,000 times? You know what I'm saying? Like nobody feels uneasy about making a layup. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody feels uneasy about riding a bike. Nobody feels uneasy about going to the store because they do it.
Mm-hmm.
Driving the car, they go out and they do it hundreds of times, and like people don't even think it's like a nervousness like part, but it comes in a reputation for me. And on top of that, when nobody expects anything of you, then you have nothing to lose. Like
Right.
I have high expectations for me, so like it's gonna hurt me. But if you go and drop that ball or miss that route or miss that block, nobody. I mean, that's what is expected of you. So like you really have everything to gain and nothing to lose. Like you're how it kind of got into my head is like especially my freshman years, like I redshirted, so I'm not playing anyway. You know what I'm saying? So like I might as
Mm-hmm.
well just try all my moves now, just try to learn, just try to I was fortunate enough my freshman year to have Marvin Jones and Keenan Allen on the same team and be able to watch them and pick up and be in the same meeting rooms with them when I was a receiver. So sitting there and absorbing and just kind of getting my reps and over time I learned to fall in love with the process. And I think that's what is keeping me in the league today. It's just like I love working out. Like I love being counted out. Like I love like taking care of my body. Like I enjoy this. I think this is me. I think that even when football's done, I'm gonna be working out. Like even when I'm still gonna be watching football. Like I've had this thought many times that I hope to have an iPad once I'm done playing, so I can just watch film. Like that's how I feel. Like today, I was watching like sometime or especially last year uh, when I was playing like a little bit fullback. I'm watching the Niners film from 3 years ago. I'm watching Delaney Walker as a Niner. I was watching Dwayne Allen as a Patriot. I was watching Cameron Brate in his younger years and stuff like that. And I'm just like absorbing the game. And I think that's what's the key of me. And I'm not saying this for everybody, but it's how things have been able to work with me. I'm curious, I'm curious and I want to get better and I'm trying to take that step forward. And I think it's kind of like Nipsey said, it's a marathon, not a race. You know what I'm saying? Even in both, if you're running and you look back and say like, wow, I did this, I did this, I did that, like I have all these accolades, then you're going to slow down and you're not going to get as far as where you're supposed to go or where you can go because you're just in awe of what you did. And that's great. You want to appreciate what you've been through, but if you want to continue to go far, then you just got to keep moving forward. And good days happen, bad days happen, but keep moving forward regardless.
Right. You saying that you want to have an iPad when you done, bro. Oh, that just threw me for a loop. You know what that's called? A coach. You
Yeah.
will be coaching, brother.
Nah. I can't be a coach. I can't be a coach. I can't be a coach. I watch what coaches do, and it's just like I want to do it because I just enjoy doing it on my time. Coaches, I thought I would want to be a coach, but like coaches, especially in college and the pro level, they're like 12, 15 hours a day. Like they are they obviously watch a lot more film than we do. So I don't want me watching too much film or being like having to do like a run cut up or like a short yardage cut up just for half the players not to watch it. I think that's going to mess with like my love for just watching tape and everything like that. So mad respect to coaches because that's a different run right there.
For sure.
Yeah,
For
like
sure.
we get to like go out there and like try things and compete and stuff like that. And they're just on the sideline. I still feel as just as much as competitive as we are, but they can't do it because they're past their years or they just physically can't. So they're just like watching tape, hoping that we do what's in their head. So I mean that's mad respect to coaches, but nah, I don't think, at least not on the college or pro level. I don't think that's in my future.
Okay. I would bet you a good amount of money right now, but I know you stubborn, you got pride, so you just wouldn't
Yeah,
go into
you're right.
coaching just to win that bet.
You're right.
But
Yeah,
we gonna say right here on camera that I bet that Steven Anderson gonna do some coaching. Maybe not college or NFL, but Steve, at the very least, you're gonna be a head football coach of an high school.
I could do some high school for sure.
At the very least. And you will take that shit so serious.
Oh,
Bro, if your team ain't win the state, it's gonna be a whole issue.
oh yeah. It's yeah. I mean, I'm gonna have some soldiers if I do choose to.
Yeah, see. You already know what cloth you want your players cut
Oh
from.
man, they gonna match my energy. I'm man, they gonna match my energy out there. I'm gonna be running with all the interceptions, with all the breakaway touchdowns, all that stuff. So yeah, if that's in my path, high school, then I'm gonna have some dogs.
We got a couple friends that former teammates, Cal, who've been coaching college. One of my good teammates over from Stanford, Cody Whitfield, is coaching at Sacramento State, and he has the safeties, I believe. And the way he's talking about his guys and like scheme and all that, I mean, he might as well be playing. Like I see the same type of passion in his voice and how he's talking about his players and the way he's thinking about getting his players better and how he's telling the truth to them and versus lying to them, telling them what they really need to do in order to get to the league. And just, he was telling us these stories and, I kind of caught that same, whiff of like, and you enjoy this just as much, maybe not just as much, but probably as close as it's going to get to when you were playing on the field, and we continued to talk about, because it was a table full of former Stanford teammates, Stanford football guys, and some that had transitioned out of ball. And we were talking about what, kind of the hardest part of transitioning out of football has been for them. And it's the feedback loop. in the real world, in a real job, it takes a long time to realize whether you've won or lost. You know, that win or that loss, like in a normal job, it doesn't come every day, like on film,
Right.
you know, where you could point and somebody tells you, hey, good job or bad job,
Yeah.
you know, where like you can play a game and celebrate all of your work, you know, and have those, etc. In the real world, it's just kind of few and far between. It's a little bit ambiguous, but I think for guys who have struggled with that, I think the ones that end up coaching, I think they find that again.
I imagine as a coach, you want your players to be a reflection of you.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the Patriots are playing right now. All of those Patriot players, especially being in the program, is a reflection of their Belichick.
Yeah.
100%. Like it's the Patriot way. Like that is. Oof. I mean, and the players in Seattle are a reflection of Pete Carroll. The players in Pittsburgh are for sure a reflection of Mike Tomlin. So like, it's. I think that's how you want to coach because the only thing you can do is be the best you just as a player. Like you, the only thing you can do is be the best you. So I definitely um, I definitely understand that. And in terms of the real world, I, you know, there's 4 quarters, and sometimes there'll be overtime in the game, and there is it's win, lose, or tie. You're going to know in about 4 hours time. You know what I'm saying? You're going to know like
Right.
what your what all the work that you did for that week. You're going to know if it was worth it in 4 hours time. And so I do understand that in the real world, you don't know if you're doing good. You don't know if you're doing bad. And then sometimes even when you're doing good, hopefully the economy is not in a recession, and hopefully you just don't get laid off for like no reason. So I I completely understand that statement, but as an athlete, what they tell us, what they told us at Cal, what they told us at Stanford, what they told us at all of these schools is being a student athlete puts you at an advantage in the work world, in my opinion. And what I mean by that is we're just competitive, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of most people, I would say, don't get that experience of game planning, preparing, just coming up with ways of how you're going to win, how you're going to get the most out of this situation is because we were programmed to just go out there and win and go out there and just kind of like dominate the competition. So if it ends up being your coworkers and you guys are on a project, I think our work ethic are naturally going to be a little bit more if we're into it and passionate about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a key point too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I think that the competitive spirit definitely puts athletes at an advantage in the rest of life. But I think it does take a certain kind of shifting of the paradigm in most roles where, you know, in most roles that maybe aren't easily measured, like when you're competing, like as if you're competing with somebody else. You know, I think like sales is probably something that athletes really would thrive in because you can see like, okay, I'm selling way more than that person.
Right.
Oh, okay, that person's selling more than me. Okay,
Mhm.
it's time to pick it up.
Right.
But in other roles where like it's harder to measure that,
Mhm.
I think it takes like a shift of the paradigm from I'm competing against an opponent to like I'm competing against me.
Right.
And I'm just trying to become the best me that I can become. And every day I'm grinding because I want to win. And whatever that like win looks like, I think is kind of like has to be personally uh manicured or kind of manufactured for the individual. And then I think, you know, that's where we could really thrive. And
Mhm.
that's probably not even exclusive to just athletes. It's probably more broadly, like if people are able to figure out the best way to compete with themselves, to perform at their highest level, to reach whatever goal is that they're trying to reach, they'd probably be much better off. But sometimes it can be hard to do.
In terms of what you're saying, like you don't really have somebody somebody you're directly competing with.
Yeah.
And it's not like a win for you specifically, but it's a win for your group and everything. The term that comes to mind when you're saying that is a game within the game. And me and you are familiar with those terms because we have both had frustrations of, dang, why are we not playing? You know what I'm saying? Like, why is this not going on? And me and you weren't the guys. We were never the highest recruits, the highest paid, the highest draft picks. We were never that.
Right.
And so opportunities are far and few between. So what kind of keeps your mind as a competitor? Because we still love the game. We're still, we still dedicate our whole lives to it. So that term, a game within a game, is a lot of times we go out to practice or meetings and says, my steps are going to get better today, or I'm gonna look every single ball in all the way to the top. And so it's just like a challenge that you have to personally make for yourself to keep yourself engaged and to keep yourself in it. And I think that in terms of, the work world, when you're not getting that direct feedback and everything, you have to almost challenge yourself to some little obstacles and stuff like that. And that's why I feel like that term, a game within a game, applies, because overall you're just trying to finish your assignment by this deadline. But that individual is trying to say, like, I know the deadline's 8, but I'm gonna get it done on my boss's desk by 7 because I'm just trying to challenge myself to a higher level. So
yeah, no, that's fire. A game within the game. I never thought about that, how it could be applied to the real world or to the work world outside of ball. Yeah, I think going into Houston, you kind of alluded to it. We had to play the game within the game, and still today. And for listeners, viewers, to give y'all a little history lesson. Steve and I, roommates at Cal, circa 2011, played together for the next 4 years. Didn't play on the same team that 5th year. I went over to Stanford. Steve stayed true to the gold and blue.
Yeah.
He stayed at Cal. But then we were both coming out in the 2016 draft. We waited a long 7 rounds, the both of us. Nobody called our names. The underdog mentality continues. The Houston Texans had talked to me over the course of like the 3 weeks leading up to the draft, and Mike Vrabel kind of gave me the idea that they wanted me to come in after the draft if I hadn't gotten picked up. So sure enough, that happens. Go to the Texans, sign as an undrafted free agent. I don't know how I must have seen it. Maybe it was on Twitter, or maybe it was just on as the Houston Texans were releasing all of the names of the draft picks or in the undrafted free agents. And on one of those websites, I seen Steven Anderson. I said, no way. No way. My dog, Steve.
Yes,
I remember calling you. That's probably the biggest I smiled that whole day, because, we went through that whole day like, damn.
Right.
Nobody picked me up, not feeling sorry for myself, but just like disappointed. And, now really got something to prove. But then seeing that you were in Houston and I was going to have not only a familiar face, but my first college roommate at the same squad, man, that was a fun time. And then going into Houston, both of us making the 53-man roster. There was only 3 undrafted guys that year. Myself, you, Joel Heath, that made the 53-man roster.
Yeah.
And as I say it, I feel like we damn near can make a movie out this shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I
It's pretty
mean,
crazy.
I never asked you about that day in particular. But obviously we know that third day was it was still 3 days, or was it 2 days?
I think it
Then
was 3.
3 days. So
Mm-hmm.
rounds 4 through 7?
Yeah.
Yeah, so rounds 4 through 7 and everything. So Saturday was the day. What was your day like?
Bro, my day was all right, turn it on in the morning or whenever it started.
Yeah.
Watching through, okay, 4th round, okay, 5th round, okay, 6th round. And then I remember there just got to a point where I just turned it off. I was like, man, I'm done with this shit, bro. And I went outside and I just started hooping. I was with my brother, me and Cameron, start shooting hoops out in the back. And I had to I guess feeling like I knew that it wasn't gonna happen. Or I just like I didn't like sitting there being antsy and at the same time frustrated. So my day was spent out on the basketball court.
Yes, sir. And then tell us, because I feel like a lot of people don't understand this part, but tell us about your connection to your phone that day.
Checking that shit every 10 seconds.
10 seconds, people calling you and trying to see what's up and everything. You think it's a team. You got to watch for all the area codes. Ain't no such thing as spam calls that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
What was
yeah.
that?
Nah, yeah. So I remember being on the phone with my agent at the time, Steve Baker, and he was calling me, hey, these guys have called me. This team has called me, whatever. We'll see what happens. Just going back and forth with Steve. I talked with Steve all that whole day. And then when the draft finished, I really only had 2 teams that were hollering at me. It was the Texans and then it was the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I talked to Joey Porter with the Steelers.
Yeah.
And, my question was like, what's the depth looking like? Because like I'm trying to come in and play. Like there's nothing, I don't want to just be a Steeler to be a Steeler. I'm trying to come and play immediately. And he was like, yeah, we got some guys, but we got the old guy, James Harrison, he's 40-something years old, or however old he was. He's upper 30s. Like, I don't know, if I was you, shoot, I'll go and try to beat that guy out. I was like, man, coach, I ain't gonna beat out this dude, James Harrison. If he want to play football, he gonna be a Steeler.
Right.
And then I looked at the Texans' depth, and they told me that gave me the sense that I had a good shot at competing for the job, because that's all you want is like a healthy opportunity to really compete versus going into a team where the roster is pretty much set, especially as your position. And I think Coach O'Brien did a great job of that, like really giving the undrafted guys a shot to make the team, and so that's ultimately why I ended up going there. But even for me, like I took it down to the wire. Or at least it took me some time to think about it, because it got to a point where Pittsburgh had like withdrawn their offer to come in. And so then it was just Houston on the table. But Houston, they were going to give me that undrafted contract under the condition that I sign an injury waiver on both my knees, which essentially, for those out there, like an injury waiver basically says that if you get hurt on whatever injury or whatever body part that's outlined, if you get hurt on the field, then they're not responsible to pay that surgery or any type of health care. You basically you waive your rights to protect an injury to that body part. And the Texans
wave knees, huh?
The Texans circled both my knees, and essentially like anything, and they, were super specific, but basically went down the line of any potential injury. And so I was like, I was going back and forth like, damn, do I really want to do this? And I remember I had a conversation with Coach Randy Hart, who was the defensive line coach at Stanford at the time, and I was kind of just I sought out his consult and just asked him what he thought I should do, and he was like, he kept it simple. He was like, "Hey man, if I had a chance to go play in the NFL and this was my chance, I would sign that shit." I said, you know what, Coach? God damn it, you're right. I hung that phone up and I went and got a workout. I went straight to the Mac Club and started lifting that night, bro. And that's how my day 3 of the draft was spent. And the rest is history.
Yeah, man. I asked because I knew it was a story because everybody got a story. Like everybody got like some crazy thing that happened that day.
What was yours?
It was a little bit different. So I went to the combine, and the combine, you know, people know about the combine. The most highly talented players go there, and that was a huge deal for me because I was watching a bowl game. It was like Oregon versus TCU, and with my dad while I was training in actually Katy, Texas, which is probably 30 minutes from Houston. I look at my email and 2016 NFL Combine, you're invited and all that stuff. So I just happen to be looking at my email, and I'm like looking at it, and my dad's like on the couch. I'm like, nah, like no way, like it ain't no way, all that stuff. Because I have some accolades, but you know, Pac-12, so you know, who knows? Like I'm, you know, especially as a tight end because they were saying tight end. Very confused about that because my last college game, the ball game against Air Force, December 28th, I was 217 pounds. So the thought of tight end in the NFL, I'm like, this is a joke. That's what I thought it was. I thought somebody was like messing with me, sending me like an email.
Spam,
right? So I'm like looking through this like multiple times, and then I find out it was legit. So went to the combine, and then even so they had these meetings in the combine. You can do like a unofficial meeting. You can do an official meeting. Your unofficial meetings, for the people who don't know, is going to be with everybody, and then that's where they come up with those stories of like they ask you like some crazy questions, like yeah, so your sister works at the school. Like, why is this? Or like, why weren't you talking to your dad in this time? And like, they try to dig like the FBI and try to ask some crazy questions and try to ask you questions about other stuff. Like, does this guy smoke weed? Like, just some crazy stuff. Like, they're trying to incriminate anybody. So those were the unofficial meetings. And then my only official meeting was actually with the Houston Texans. And then also while I was training, like a reporter for the Texans put out an article of like these are the guys to like watch in the draft and stuff like that. So I actually between my combine performance, that combine, so I weighed in 217 December 29th. The combine was probably like mid-February, and I weighed in at like 230. So for people who haven't had to gain weight fast while working out and stuff like that, I'm talking about like so in Texas they got this smoothie chain called Smoothie King. So when I tell you like I had to get these calories in, I'm talking about like people want to know what dedication is like, go
talk to them.
Yeah,
talk to them.
Go to Smoothie
King. What was on the menu?
Anything like go to Smoothie King and get a large strawberry Hulk. And so I was like 2 of those a day. And so if you
plus all 3 square meals,
like just square meals, and I'm talking about I wake up, I'll eat some rice, I made a shake, work out, come back, square meal, Smoothie King, work out again, come back, Smoothie King again, rice and chicken, and then I'll eat again before I went to bed. And so like that's basically what it was for like 6 weeks straight up until the combine. And so one strawberry Hulk is, I feel like it's still that, but it's about 1,900 calories for one drink. And I had to get two of those a day. So, the scale was okay, and 230 is still like light for a tight end in the league. I think the average is probably like 245, 260 is like right where the average is. But I mean, that's what I had to do. You know what I'm saying? I was trying to be in the league by any means possible. That's what I had to do. But in terms of the draft day, I knew Houston was looking at me. There was a lot of projections. I think the highest, because I had a good combine. Since I was basically a receiver, my agility scores were a lot better than a lot of the tight ends and also a lot of the receivers that year. So I was thinking I was going to be drafted. Texans coach, tight ends coach texted me like good luck today and all that stuff like before the draft even started. A lot of people had me pinned in like the fifth or sixth round and everything. So I'm like, cool. But I told my mother, I was like, I do not want a party. Do not throw a party. I watched this. So there was this documentary out. It was called 2 Days in April, and they basically. I watched it. It came out a couple years. I think it was like the 2000. I forgot what year, but they followed these four draft players, and they followed their training journeys, what they had to do. Three of them got drafted. One of them didn't get drafted. This guy that didn't get drafted, he went to New Mexico State. He had 4,000-yard seasons, had good accolades, but went to a small school. He had a party. And so everyone got to sit there and watch him not get drafted, disappointment on his face. I mean, it was just disheartening, like from top to bottom, disheartening. Like the cameras following him. So I told my mom, I was like, I do not want a party. I do not want to see, like, if it goes bad, I do not want that. So sure enough, my mom in Miss Charlene fashion, she threw a party.
Come on now. Charlene trying to party. She ain't trying to party for you. Charlene trying to party for Charlene.
So I'm talking about grandparents, best friends, all this stuff. Like they
all her homegirls too.
Yeah, oh man, like there's like 30 people up in the house in the Tracy where I was at. So the day three starts pretty early, so it starts at 9 a.m. on the West Coast time. So like I'm nervous from the jump and everything. I'm nervous from the jump. I'm trying to hang out in the garage, like play some ping pong, but I'm like looking at this TV. I'm just looking at that ticker. All my friends, I told my homies don't call me like who weren't there, but hey bro, you hear anything? Yeah, I'm just like, yo, like do not call my phone. So every time my phone rang, which it felt like it did a lot, heart dropped, looking at the area code. Oh, it's just my friend. Oh, it's just like this. So I ended up, to shake the nerves off, I was drinking Hennessy at 10 a.m. on draft. Yeah, I was there. I was there. So drinking Hennessy at 10 a.m. Nerves all over the place. I got to the point just like you. I just had to go sit outside. I was like, I'm gonna go sit by the curb and everything. I'm seeing these guys who I like beat out athletically at least, and tape wise. They're getting drafted. Nothing's happening. I'm waiting for the call, and then the draft is over, and then that's when my phone, or before the draft is over, the Houston Texans actually they had a fifth, a sixth, and a seventh. They traded the sixth and seventh for another fifth. So I'm looking at that second fifth, like, oh, it's gonna be me, and then they take a KJ Dillon. So I'm like, man, okay. Like Miami flew me out actually too. So I was looking at Miami and they take a tight end, but they took Thomas Duarte. He went to LA at the time, who had the same exact measurements as me and everything.
Yeah.
So I'm outside. I'm on the curb. My mom's trying to console me. I'm like, get out of here. You know what I'm saying? And my phone starts ringing. And then out of the phone calls, like Dallas called, Miami called, Indy called, the Patriots called, and then Houston. So I get on the phone. Houston's Rick Smith. hey, like we really want you here. We had a guy who left the free agency. We didn't draft a tight end, so like there's a spot for you and everything. And I've been like that was my preference, obviously, because I met with them personally at the combine. But who knows? There's lots of emotions that are going on. Like you don't know where your NFL career is gonna go. And then yeah, so and then he said, hold on, Coach O'Brien is wants to talk to you. And so just as you, Coach O'Brien kept it really real. And that's why, like, despite his coaching slash GM stint,
Yeah,
um I definitely respect him as a person because he always kept it real with me.
for sure.
Like he might not like what he's saying, but what he's saying is the actual truth. So um he said, hey, like we want you here. And this is the only head coach in this whole process that got on the phone and talked to me. It was always position coaches or scouts or anything like that. So I'm like, he took the time out of all the calls he could be making and talked to me on the phone. So we had to Houston. So
Mm-hmm.
and then
Yeah, Coach OB
yeah.
always kept it real. Now you got an incredible story, bro. It's been cool to follow, and kind of to take it all, bring it all full circle, being a walk on early on and always being undervalued in other people's eyes, and whether it was in college from being a walk on, then earning a scholarship, or then waiting those long 7 rounds, and then finally getting on a squad. I mean, the story is incredible, and obviously still going today. And I know that you've started to not only kind of build a business around the walk-on mentality, but also kind of have started to build a movement around it too. I'm curious because I haven't really um, heard it from your mouth, kind of just seeing what you've been doing on social media and some of the merchandise and the podcasting and stuff. But what's the vision? What's the big vision for walk on mentality, and where is it at now?
And so speaking of merchandise, I got one of the official shirts on right here.
All right, all right.
You know what I'm
Shameless
saying?
plug.
I mean, I should have just leaned the screen like that. But,
Yeah.
yeah. So walk on mentality, something that's been on my heart for years and years and years. It was on my heart since I started it, and basically, what walk on mentality, what it means to me is like I was saying earlier, like you're going to be an underdog when you walk on. You're not going to get sometimes you're going to feel like you're not even on the team, and you're just the true underdog in all facets. So just to the mindset that I had to create in that any underdog. I mean, it could be football, basketball, and it doesn't even have to be sports. Um, the mindset that you got to go in and just work and just really be in love with the game because you don't love the game or what you're doing any less than the guys who are playing. Like you probably love it even more because some of those guys aren't going to go through what you went through to be able to do what you do. So the walk-up mentality is just the mindset that you have to wake up with every day, every morning, and being able to persevere through the obstacles that are going to be thrown your way, which is, like I said, like less playing time, less notoriety, when you feel like you deserve all of that and more. So it's just a mindset of I'm gonna work hard. I'm not gonna focus on what's going on with other people, and I'm just gonna keep chipping away at it until something good happens.
Right. Yeah, that's dope. I mean, I feel like, especially in football, but in any sport, people, we take it so seriously, and it's, from a young age, it's something that, if you make it to college, for sure, it's something that you've prioritized. It's important in your life. And I think to get to that level, um, and be, a walk on, just kind of understanding a little bit, you know, um, what you go through, and not always being fully appreciated for
Mhm.
the sport that you love and, you know, are so passionate for.
Right.
You know, I'm certain that kids who are in that position now or will be in that position could really use a voice of inspiration, support, motivation as they kind of go through, um, you know, what they're going through right now. So I commend you for that. I think it's dope. Um, I think it's really cool. And are you how are you doing it? Are you podcasting it or
Yeah, so I'm doing interviews. I interviewed myself, interviewed Santana Moss, he's a walk on, interviewed Ashton Davis, safety for the Jets right now. He was a former walk on. And I'm looking to interview some more guys. We got some people lined up. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to highlight walk ons. I'm trying to give them that spotlight that they often lack.
mm,
And I'm trying to just kind of really just put a spotlight on the other guys, the guys to the side, the guys that are not getting that attention because they deserve that attention. Because oftentimes their stories are not ever going to be put out, and their stories are more extraordinary than the guys that are playing. I mean, what they had to do to like the sacrifices that they had to make um, are just amazing, not only for me, but for everybody. And it's out of pure love and pure appreciation and pure confidence that they have that they could be great in their respective sports or their respective jobs. So that's my whole goal of everything. And it's true underdogs. I just want to spotlight the underdogs. Uh,
yeah,
you know, I and my goal is to inspire the guys who think that they can't make it out of their position and they're not being looked at, and they're the guys that think that there haven't been too much opportunity and that they're never going to make it. It's like, no, there's
hmm,
plenty of people that made it in your position. And I want to spotlight that so that if I can inspire one person, then I've done my job and doing what I'm trying to do.
yeah, yeah. No, I'm sure you'll do that and more. And for those listening or watching, on a college football team, there are potentially what, like 110, 120 players, depending on the roster, depending on like Division 1, Division 2, anywhere from 100 to like 120. Back when we were playing, it was 85. Each school got 85 scholarships, and
Mhm.
that was shared over um, 5 different classes. So basically, as a college football player, you have 4 years of eligibility, but you could take a red shirt and then so end up being there for 5 seasons. So you have the 85 scholarships, and then to fill the rest of the roster, you would have walk-ons.
Mhm.
And those walk-ons, you could have 15 of them to get them at 100, or you could have 35 to get you at 120 on your roster. And so as a walk-on, essentially they're not given a scholarship to school like the scholarship players. And so if there was a totem pole of coming in, if there was a totem pole for like who was prioritized or like importance was placed upon, walk-ons would typically be at the bottom of that. And so would that be a correct summation of that, Steve?
Yeah. Um, there's only so many scholarships that go out. Not everyone on the football team is going to have a scholarship, and that's just kind of what it is. They prioritize it. You know, they have rank. That's why they have so many rankings and stars.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have NIL, so some people are getting paid, like getting into the situation.
Yeah.
So the and this is 120 guys, so there's going to be a large portion of people who just don't get anything, and they have to pay for school, and they have to pay for the meals, and they have to just really, you know, grind for anything and everything. I remember I had to get a job when I was in college, which isn't crazy, but one of my jobs was to pull the weeds off the hill that we ran up the next day for football. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I was on that hill in my workers' gloves, like gardening gloves, and it just pulling the weeds out and trying to like clear the hill because that was the grounds unit's job, and I had a job with them. So that's just kind of like the type of grind that I had.
Mm.
I was gonna be there the next morning at 6 a.m. running up that same hill.
Right.
Uh,
I didn't know you did that.
yeah. I had that job for I had that job for a summer, so it was like during the summer workouts and stuff. But yeah, that's what it is. But I I encourage the guys who are in my position or even just a low level recruit is this can be your everybody has to have a why for what they're doing, and this could be your why for the rest of your life.
Mm.
The fact that you're slept on like right now. And
Yeah.
this feeling that you have, it's not easy to bring in and turn to the positive, but if you do, it's a powerful thing. And I have that chip on my shoulder still because I'm a walk on, like, and that's how I feel. And it was and when I was undrafted versus my peers who came into college as scholarship players and how they may have felt, I was kind of like chuckling because I'm used to this. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I was okay. Like the weirdest part was me getting an invite to the combine because that's some highly recruited type stuff, and that wasn't really my.
That wasn't your MO.
Nah, that was my emo. So like,
They
that was
treated
weird.
you too good with that invite,
Yeah,
huh?
that was like I get all this gear and all this stuff and Nike contract at the time and blah 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 blah. I was like, oh yeah, like this is like this is what y'all get, like this is how it is and all that stuff, and people actually know you and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's being a walk on made getting into the NFL easy because I already just had that mindset, and
Yeah.
it's just continuing what I was doing for the previous 4 or 5 years in college of just grinding and working hard every single day. So that part kind of came easy. I kind of knew the feelings. I didn't have to go through the, oh, I'm undrafted. I don't think anyone wants me and everything. I don't think any of this. I just got to work like I did when I was in college, and it was kind of repeating that same process. And now that I've been on different multiple teams, I come to that team with that same mindset of like, if I have to play special teams, if I have to change my position, because as a for people who don't play football, if you're a receiver, the last thing you want to do is become a tight end. You know what I'm saying? That means you're like too slow, typically not really skilled enough to be a receiver. And I'll go one further. If you're a tight end, the last thing you want to do is become a fullback. So, but I think my willingness to say, all right, is it going to get me on the field? Okay, like that's what I'm gonna do. Let me learn the position. Let me learn the trade, and I ended up being pretty good at it. And that's made my career longer. It's just my willingness to do things that most people don't want to do.
Yeah. You talked a little bit about NIL.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get these walk on some NIL deals, man.
That's gonna be
How
tough.
how we gonna do that, bro?
Uh, my
We
so
gotta
my
create a
goal,
we gotta create a middle class in this NIL space.
yes, and
We got the rich of the rich, and then we got
mhm.
the dirt poor right
Yeah,
now.
it's the NIL is going to shake up the whole game, because instead of everybody getting a scholarship check, and I know walk-ons don't get scholarship checks, but they're still like everybody's getting paid the same money. Take the Alabama quarterback Bryce Young for example. Before he took his first snap with Alabama, he signed $1 million NIL deal, and I can't imagine me trying to sneak in the mailroom like I was doing to get some meals picking the weeds off the field, and I see one of my teammates roll by in the Bentley. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Hey,
like,
Steve, you missed the spot.
Bro, what you doing?
Hey, you see that weed over there?
Right.
There's a weed right here, man. My tires is rolling over at 22 inches.
Right. Hey, since you clean it, go ahead and clean up the side of my door real quick. You know what I'm saying? I spilled something. Like, I can't imagine. And that's tough, and that's creating that gap. And it's crazy to think about, but at the same time, I also think like it's going to kill a lot of careers. NIL is going to kill a lot of careers. Some people are just in it just for the money, just to get paid. And once they get a little hint of money, then they're going to be thinking, and this is going to start when they're 18, 19, getting these NIL deals. They're going to start thinking that they're hot. You know what I'm saying? That they ain't got nothing to do. They ain't got to do anything else. They just going to keep getting this money. And our undeveloped brains in early college and stuff like that is not going to be able to process like, nah, you got to keep working. You probably even got to work even harder now. So this is going to weed out a lot of players once they touch that bread and stuff like that. So it's gonna be a different game. The guys who I would say I give it a couple years, I say probably in like 10 years, it's gonna be a different type player that makes it to the NFL because of
Spoken like a true walk-on, man.
Hey, man, you know what I'm saying? I'm
always trying to figure out a way for the little guy. It's just going to ruin their careers. They're going to get content, complacent, and the hungry dog is going to hunt better.
It's going. We should probably like take note of all of these 5-star recruits, like who's a 5-star each year, and then watch about how their careers go versus the guys, the 5 stars before these deals. Because, you know, I do believe that before the NIL, some college players were getting paid. But this is like they can openly get paid, and they can get paid a lot more legally.
True.
So I would like to do a study comparison of how NIL messed up the high recruits' chances of making it onto the professional level.
I like that.
I mean, true. I'll definitely hop on that. But in terms of answering your question, how are we gonna get the little guys paid? How I would do it through walk-on mentality is right now we're doing walk-on of the week, and this is we did a guy from Oklahoma. I'm forgetting his name. He's number 82, the receiver. He had a real nice highlight, and he was our walk-on of the week. I would like to, ideally, once we get walk-on mentality up and going, I'd like to send him a $500 Amazon card. Like, hey, walk-on of the week, congrats. Send him one of these shirts, like, boom, walk-on of the week, congrats and everything. And then I would also like to take it one further is start highlighting these guys like we did my story and Santana Moss's and Ashton Davis and say, like, send them a mic just like you sent me and say, like, hey, let's dig into your story just a little bit more. Like, what's your grind? So that the future walk-ons, current walk-ons can say, like, they looked at my story, somebody who's been through it previously, and then they can look at somebody's story who's going through it currently, and they'll be able to draw some conclusions about just similarities in the process of like, hey, you have to work hard regardless. Like, I think that's going to be like a unanimous thing, but different stories are going to be different. And yeah, that's how I'm going to try to spotlight that. And that's how I would want to have my hand in the NIL deals just for the walk-on. So, you know, the bigger walk-on mentality grows, the more likely we'll be able to make that happen.
That's fire. That's fire. For all those walk-ons out there who getting a chance to play this upcoming Saturday, just know if you ball out, you might get a check from Steven. Steven out here cutting $500 checks to walk-ons. Wow.
Hey, yes, sir. You know that Amazon card is going to hit different, too. That's
for sure. You can get anything.
What? Anything.
Get anything.
Like, almost pay your rent with that. So you good.
Before I let you go, we got a couple of high-quality questions for you. Some high-quality questions.
Mm-hmm.
So Take a sip of your water. Here we go. What is one fashion trend you think needs to go, or a trend that you think needs to make a return? Talk to me.
I was never big on those man bags, man. Like I was
The
never
man bags.
man bags. Like I'm cool with the what do you call it? Like the satchel type stuff. Like the what do you call that?
The messenger.
The messenger. But
Mhm.
the little straight out purses, bro. Like I wasn't really a big fan of that. Like some people be carrying that. And, you know, no shade to whoever.
Nah, bro. Say it how it is. Say it how it is. It is shade, Steve.
Nah,
It is.
you
Not
asked
fucking
me a
with
question.
the
I gave
man
you
bag.
asked me a question. I gave you an answer. You know.
All right.
So
Facts.
no shade to anybody. It's just not my style. You know what I'm saying? I'm from the Bay. We do it a little different, but not that different. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Steve
I
don't like the man bags. What you wearing these days, man?
not man bags. Not man bags. I'm a connoisseur of the you know the shorts that show off the leg day. You know what I'm saying? The just a little biker shorts and everything. I'm a fan of those.
Biker shorts. You talking about your thought shorts?
Yeah,
You wearing thought shorts?
Yeah, I wear thought shorts.
you showing your thighs these days, are you?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I don't skip leg day. I do my squats and everything, so I'm a big fan of that. But in terms of
How high up your quad?
the show, you know where like the two quad muscles meet and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
You know what I'm saying? Like right there, not too high.
little W around there.
Yeah.
Not everybody has that little W, man. But if you got it,
has that.
don't be afraid to show it off.
Right. So that's more of my style. But
if you could live in any era or time other than the present, when would it be and why?
early 90s.
Early 90s.
Pre-cell phone, pre-internet, pre political, unrest to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Because growing up in terms of that, it wasn't so divided.
Yeah.
But hip hop is coming up.
Great music. Yeah.
Great music, you know what I'm saying? Like people really singing and everything, and like cool vibes and everything. Just
R&B was going strong.
Yeah, R&B going strong.
Boy bands.
Yeah, boy bands. Things were more like affordable. I didn't think like things started like really booming like that. So just vibes and this is where the house party movies came up and all that stuff, the hairstyles, like everything like everything about the early 90s, and especially the non-phones and internet and Twitter and everything. And I love that part. And I there's advantages to it, but sometimes simple is better.
What's your go-to celebration on the field?
I beat my chest a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you're that guy. Good old chest beater.
Yeah,
Point to the sky.
Yeah, I do that, but like I'm like a double. You know what I'm saying? You know how an egg is about to like fight somebody and everything, and it just like goes real quick. Like I'm like a double, beat my chest ready for. I do that actually before every game. So like I do that. If I score a touchdown, my next one, I'm definitely gonna just chuck the ball as hard as I can. Like just like it's not
spike, right? You're spiking it.
Not even the spike. It's gonna be into like the stands, like not the people, but like the
that little wall right there.
Yeah, I'm throwing it into the wall because I like people seeing my intensity, my love for the game, and my passion for the game. So I think that's a great illustration of that.
Who is the best motivational speaker you've ever shared a locker room with? As we think about pre-game speeches, post-game breakdowns, as we think about practices that aren't quite going the way they need to go, the guy that brings up the team, says a few words, who's that guy been for you in your career that you would put at the top?
I said Matthew Slater. And I know that probably was going to surprise a lot of people, but if you really watch, like he's the one who's giving the post game speeches, pre game speeches in New England, team that's full of just vets and just dogs and everything. So when I was up there, I mean, there's just a lot of vets on the team that's been doing it for a long time and got a lot of jewelry, Super Bowl rings, man. So he he had a way of talking. He definitely had a way of talking, and he always inspired me. That was one of the few players I could say like, okay, he could be my mentor, and I reach out to him a lot and ask him for advice because he's a perfect guy. It's just like he just goes to work. Matthew Slater for sure, but just in principle, whenever Tom Brady barks, then you listen. You know what I'm saying? You can't like you're not gonna ignore what Tom Brady says. Like I don't care. You're not. So just out of respect, when he barked, it was like, okay,
Yeah.
all right, yeah, yes sir, yes sir. Let me go ahead and
Tighten up.
and everything. Yeah, I'll never forget the first time he yelled at me, and it was a shock. I was on practice squad when I was in New England. It was, I'm a California kid. It's New England. It's December. It's cold. We're practicing outside, of course, Patriot Way. Shout out. But we're doing warm-ups and we just doing some little over-the-shoulder catches. Like practice is just getting started. It's probably like 30 degrees, 40 degrees outside. I'm wearing triple everything, like triple sweatpants. It's so cold. You haven't played in a cold environment yet, but I'm talking about like you got to put Vaseline on, and then you got to put like your long sleeve shirt, and then you got to put a hoodie over before you put your shoulder pads on type of. Like you got to put Vaseline on your hands, and then put the gloves on type stuff. Like it's cold, man. Like it'd be cold out there, so getting the joints warm and getting going, hey, that's tough. So we're doing some over the shoulder catches and everything. We just jogging through. I was doing good on practice squad there, but Tom over here, like he's warming up in the middle of the field. We're on the sideline, just going through the motions, and I'm over here, Steven! And I'm like, huh? And I look, Tom over here stopped what he's doing, Steven! Like just screaming at me. And when Tom is screaming at somebody, everybody's stopping and looking. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck? He was like, pluck the ball out there. Pluck the ball out there. And I'm shook. I'm shook at this point. You know what I'm saying? I got like, it was one of the greatest moments of my career, but it was like the scariest moments.
Yo, that's funny, man.
Like Tom Brady just screamed at me. I was like, I can't wait to tell my boys this. But like, kind of like, I said, man, you should have seen me. I was over here trying to moss like some more.
Yeah.
Man, but that story I like to tell people is Tom Brady screamed some greatness into me that day.
What teammate that you've ever had is most likely to end up on a reality TV show?
I think when I was in Houston, it would be JJ because everybody would watch that because JJ is just a symbol.
What kind of show? Would Sir JJ Watt?
Sir JJ. Yeah. First of all, JJ couldn't go anywhere in Houston. Anywhere.
No. He was a backdoor guy. If you were getting JJ out to any type of restaurant or position dinner, it was through the back door.
Not really sure what the show would be called, but just like I'm sure it's filled with some like just like he did on Hard Knocks, just intense workouts, him just doing a bunch of reps and everything. Just all that stuff. So like I'm thinking that show is gonna be bad because people would watch it. Like, this JJ he's a symbol. Like he's more than a football player, hell of a guy, but he's being able to play with him in Houston and then now Arizona and seeing like his influence is basically the same.
Yeah, I'm not sure what show it would be for JJ. People would probably watch a show of him just like working out.
Mm-hmm.
Or I know he's got his dogs. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I get you. What would your answer be?
A reality TV show?
Yeah.
Bernardrick McKinney.
Okay. Yeah, but I didn't hang out with BMAC as much as you did. So
Bro, you can make a show about BMAC, just a day in the life of.
Yeah.
And just follow him around.
Yeah.
Especially like Houston BMAC, you know, because now BMAC, he's, you know, husband, father, the whole thing. You know, BMAC's, he's grown up.
Yeah.
Bro, his young Houston days. Oh man, he's so funny. He's still funny to this day. I just talked to him recently, actually. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Sir.
It's been an absolute pleasure chopping up with you, Steven.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But yeah, appreciate you, man. I'm glad I get to be on B-Scar TV. Again, saw it from its roots, pre B-Scar TV days. So it's an honor. It's an honor.
No doubt. You see that where this is our virtual format. You're the first of the virtual format.
Yes,
we got our mic here, not yet set up, but it will be. You know, I got the camera. I got the second view right here coming from the Zoom screen. We're building. We're going this way.
Yeah.
Scar TV is growing, and it's an honor to get you on the show, man. So with that said, I will give you a virtual handshake, brother. Appreciate you.
Sir.
Best of luck this week and the rest of the season, man. We will be in touch. And there you have it, folks, with another episode of B-Scar TV. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, give us some constructive criticism. We trying to get better because, you know, we are on the endless pursuit of high quality content.